What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? The Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then do it 50 more times to check results against each other. Someone wrote a book about this. Basically there are a number of case studies. You might find it interesting, look it up. They're called shipwreck societies. There's also an island in the South Pacific, Pitcairn Island, whose inhabitants, around 50, are the descendants of the mutineers of HMS Bounty. Their society? Basically lots of child rape, which, when brought to trial, included their lawyers arguing that they didn't know rape was illegal. The British government had to build a prison especially for them. I'd train gorillas in weightlifting, really see how tanked they can get. Boost them with steroids along the way. After that, I take my army of beasts, pump them full of cocaine, and let them loose in an empty shopping mall. Wanna see which stores they like and which ones they don't. You know, for science and shit. Edit, I've had some fantastic input from you geniuses. To add, the gorillas will be trained in all beefed-up exercises, even though science is against me on this one. We're gonna throw some PCP in with the cocaine. Cybernetic hearts to handle the load of coke, yada, yada, yada. Thought I had more on this. Oh. And the mall is empty because I'm not a freaking murderer, you guys. Quit trying to kill everyone. Not all science is about death, geez. See if a monkey tribe could become dominant over the rest by training them to make and use weapons and other primitive technology. Also interested in seeing if they would take their newfound knowledge and begin to expand an empire. So one thing they did learn about chimps is that they don't teach each other. They often are observers. A monkey see monkey do situation. Humans teach other, but we also have an inherent trust in others when we are young, so we trust what we are being taught is true. Humans as adults will teach each other and form ideally mutually beneficial relationships. It is what gave us a huge advantage in developing material cultures like stone tools being made in a similar pattern by different groups of people. We learn from each other more than other great apes than just when we are young. If one individual is taught to make a spear, it won't go back to its troop and it won't proactively teach others to make a spear for the benefit of the group, but the others who see it make a spear will make their own after watching the first chimp do it. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are fine, but the cost of having that many roses in a hothouse and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. This is one of the most interesting replies I've read that isn't cruel or obscure. It seems so simple and achievable, yet I fully understand the ridiculous amount of money and work involved as you described it, to achieve the desired outcome. Have an Olympics where every single athlete is drugged to an insane level. I think it would raise what is possible by today's standards drastically. Not just drugs, bionic parts, gene therapy, hormone treatments. The Mega-Olympics, where you can match a man-horse hybrid race against the $6 million man. And that man-horse is trained from birth to do nothing but race. Like, horribly punished whenever he shows any ambition other than racing. Can barely speak a full sentence, but Forrest Gump's the instant he is told to run from point A to point B his legs are built like concrete, and the training facility has the toilet clogged all the time because his urine is so packed with steroids, that there is muscle tissue growing inside the plumbing. How long a decapitated head stays conscious? All we have are anecdotes that might have been exaggerated. I've always wanted a definitive answer, but you know, ethics. It's been done around 7 to 10 seconds, so you gotta start planning on your last words now. You won't have time then, my current is I'm going to head out. Yeah, there was some weird doctor who conducted an experiment where he slapped a freshly guillotined head. You can read about it on the Wikipedia page about the guillotine. But I suspect that was more of tics and involuntary death reflexes because of nerves dying or some shit. I suppose the pain, the shock and the sudden drop of blood pressure would cause the head to lose consciousness pretty much immediately. How would the world react to a mountain of 100 billion pennies for free in the middle of a major area? I think a more remote area might be more interesting. Do people make efforts to get there? How do they get it out? Do stores and merchants catering to those people appear? What happens when it's all gone? It's like a mini, controlled gold rush. I'd want to see what a society of children would do on their own if they were alone from birth. Of course, adjustments would have to be made for when they were infants, but beyond that, how would they develop language, ethics, mythology, culture? And as they got older, how would they handle coming of age without adult role models? Though unethical, I think an experiment like that would answer a lot of questions about sociology, psychology, anthropology, and philosophy. It would be like watching the beginning of human society from scratch, with no external influence. Edit: yes, I have read Lord of the Flies, however that is a work of fiction. Edit 2, you guys have a lot of brilliant ideas on how to improve this experiment and a lot of true stories to make hypotheses on. I'm really enjoying reading this thread. There needs to be a lot of adjustments while they're infants, since they need more than just basic physiological needs. Affection is very important. There was actually an experiment conducted in 1944 where they tried to raise babies without any affection. They will wither and die, literally. That's really fascinating, thanks for the read. It makes me wonder if there's a sort of cut-off age that would be self-sustainable, like a group of 4 to 6-year-olds that are taught linguistics and have basic social skills. Of course physical needs are met, food, etc. Near-death experiences, and what people see. So basically I'd want to kill a bunch of people then bring them back to life. I'm sure a lot of them wouldn't make it back. I had one on the operating table. Honestly just felt like a vivid dream. It felt like my body went up, floated around, and I could look around at my own body and see the operators. I don't really recall anything after that. I was a kid and believed in God, but I didn't attach any religious significance to it then and I still don't. It was just a really weird thing that I couldn't articulate at the time. I didn't find out my experience was common until much later. Oh man, I love this question. There are a ton of geoengineering experiments that I'd love to run if they weren't both 1. illegal, 2. insanely expensive, 3. non-zero possibility of death and destruction. Iron fertilization. Basically dumping tons of iron dust into the ocean to cause an algae bloom, which should sequester a bunch of carbon and help mitigate global warming. Cloud seeding, space mirrors, dropping a nuke into a volcano. You know. Normal stuff. Genetic altering of humans. I don't currently have an issue with anyone that wants to do it on themselves. However, to do it to an embryo or through the parent's DNA to see what we could do to advance humans would be amazing. Alterations to intelligence, memory, physical attributes, gills to swim underwater, visual alterations to see the full light spectrum and hearing for the full sound spectrum, immunity to all diseases and harmful bacteria, ability to eat almost anything for sustenance. I will make 5 subjects of sane and healthy mind placed in a facility with 5 psychopaths, insane murderers. They will have group activities in a pair of 2 from each group and the activities will be of 2 types, moral and immoral. Then I will conduct results about how much these activities affect the subjects in both groups. Edit: they are not in a prison. They are just being volunteers. Prison is totally different scenario and the Stanford prison experiment had totally different outcomes. These group of 2 will go through a murder activity, But psychopaths are not allowed to murder their partner or anyone other in the experiment.